My name is Dana Holloway, and I should have trusted my gut the moment I saw him. I was staying in my late uncle's farmhouse, alone. He passed away quietly in May, and I was the last living relative with any reason to deal with the place. The lawyer said if I took care of his personal effects, it'd be mine free and clear. I wasn't planning on moving in, just sorting things, boxing up junk, getting the place ready to sell. It sat off a 2-lane road in rural Tennessee, surrounded by trees and quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like it's pressing on your ears. No cell service, no internet, just me and the cicadas buzzing like static in the distance. There was a rotary phone mounted in the living room, still plugged into the wall, a long coiled cord drooping like a dead vine. I picked it up the first night just out of habit. No dial tone. Figured it was long disconnected and never thought twice. At least, not until the man started showing up. It was around 2 a.m. the first time. I was brushing my teeth when I heard the porch creak. I figured it was wind, maybe a raccoon, but I looked through the bathroom window out of instinct. And there he was, a man, standing on the porch, still, silent, facing the door. I couldn't see much. His head was low, body half in shadow, wearing a pale shirt. Not moving, not pacing, just watching. Or waiting. My breath caught in my throat. I turned off the bathroom light and moved into the hallway, keeping my eyes on the front window. By the time I got there, he was gone. No footsteps, no car, just gone. I barely slept. The next morning I went out to check, thinking I might find footprints or something. And I did. 2 faint impressions in the dirt. Deep, fresh, right in front of the porch steps. The next night, I waited for him. I sat in the dark with the blinds cracked, heart thumping. At exactly 2:03 a.m., the porch creaked again. There he was, same man, same posture. Like time had frozen around him. I didn't move, didn't blink. He just stood there, then stepped backward off the porch, one slow movement at a time, disappearing into the tree line without ever turning around. Gone again. By the third night, I was spiraling. I started second-guessing myself, wondering if stress and grief were playing tricks. But I kept thinking about that phone, how it just sat there on the wall, plugged in, useless, but there, like it was waiting. And then came the 4th night. It was colder. The air felt tight. I didn't turn off the lights this time. I wanted to see him clearly. I sat in the living room facing the front door, revolver on the table, heart climbing my throat. 2:04 a.m. Knocking. 3 soft knocks. And then the phone rang. That dead, antique phone came to life, shrieking through the silence. Then a crackle. Static. Thick and wet, like breathing through mud. Then a woman's voice. Weak. Trembling. Don't let him in. And then, click. I stood there, paralyzed, phone still in my hand, listening to the dial tone that wasn't supposed to be there. And then I heard it. The doorknob rattling. Soft. Testing. Like someone was seeing if it would open. I stepped back slowly, eyes locked on the door. The porch creaked again. Then, silence. He was gone. I left that house the next morning, left everything. I didn't even shut the front door behind me. I never told anyone. Who would believe it? But sometimes in the dead of night, if the landline rings or there's a knock at the door I wasn't expecting, I remember the voice, and I listen. Because no matter what else happens, I won't let him in. My name is Aaron McBride, and I've always been one of those people who doesn't mind being alone. I work in IT, quiet job, quiet life. So when my friend Derek asked me to house sit for a few days while he and his family were on vacation in Florida, I didn't hesitate. Free place, big TV, stocked fridge, and no one needing tech support for a week. Easy choice. His house was nice, quiet little two-story place tucked at the end of a cul-de-sac in northern Illinois. Pretty normal neighborhood. Lawns trimmed, fences painted. The kind of place where nothing ever happens. Or so I thought. Derek left early Saturday morning. By noon I had the place to myself. I settled in, ordered food, found his Wi-Fi password scribbled on a sticky note, and picked a spot on the couch like a man on vacation. Everything felt fine. Until the second night. It started with the guest room light. I remember walking down the hall to the kitchen around midnight and noticing the door to the guest room was slightly open and the overhead light was on. I was sure I hadn't touched that room. I turned it off, pulled the door shut, and went to bed. The next night, same thing. Light on, door ajar. I stood in the hallway a little longer that time. Not because I was scared, but because I felt uncertain. It's hard to explain. Like the room had its own gravity. It wanted to be looked at. I walked over, peeked inside. Perfectly clean, just like Derek left it. Still, something felt off. Not like someone had been in there, but like someone was still in there, hiding just out of sight. I shut the light off again and pushed the door closed hard enough to hear the latch click. That night I dreamt the door creaked open, and someone walked down the hall toward me. The next day I told myself it was just my imagination. Old houses creak, lights flicker, doors shift when the AC kicks on. Still, I started locking the bedroom door behind me when I slept. By the fourth night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I got up around 1 a.m. for water, passed the hallway, and the light was on again. This time, I knew I hadn't even gone near that room. I walked down the hall slow, heart climbing into my throat. The door was wide open, and the bed looked slept in. The pillow was sunken, sheets wrinkled, a faint impression, like someone had just rolled out of it. I stood there staring, not sure what to do. That's when I noticed the smell. Something faint, human, the kind of scent that clings to blankets, sweat, warmth, breath. I backed away slowly. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I texted Derek. Hey, just curious. Has anyone else stayed in the house recently? Like, before you left? He replied about an hour later. Nope, just us. Why? I told him I'd explain later. That evening, just after sunset, I went into the guest room and proved to myself there was nothing there. I smoothed the sheets, fluffed the pillows, made it look untouched. Then I turned off the light, shut the door, and placed a dime on top of the knob, just to see. A little trick my dad taught me when I was a kid. If anyone turned the knob even slightly, the dime would fall. I locked myself in the master bedroom and stayed up late watching TV. Somewhere around 3 a.m. I heard something. Click. Not loud, just soft enough to make me freeze. I got out of bed slowly, opened the bedroom door. The hallway was dark, except for one warm rectangle of light at the far end. The dime was on the carpet. The door to the guest room was open again, light on. And the bed? The bed was made. Perfectly. Like it had never been touched. Only one thing was different. On the pillow was a single grey hair. I left before sunrise. I didn't even lock the door behind me. When Derek got back, he told me nothing was missing. No damage. No signs of a break-in. He laughed it off. Said maybe I needed a vacation. But I know what I saw. That light wasn't broken. That bed wasn't empty. And whatever was in that guest room didn't want to leave. It just wanted me to know. It was still there. My name is Clara Bell, and I inherited the kind of house people dream about, until they have to sleep in it alone. It belonged to my Aunt Lucille, my mother's oldest sister. She was the quiet one in the family, never married, never left town. She passed away in her sleep last spring, and to everyone's surprise, she left the house to me. It was a tall, narrow Victorian on the edge of a wooded lot in upstate New York. The kind of place with creaky staircases, lace curtains, and a faint scent of rosewater and dust. From the outside it looked charming, but on the inside it felt like time had gotten stuck. I moved in late July. The plan was to fix it up, maybe sell it in the fall. The place hadn't been touched in years. Furniture covered in sheets, wallpaper peeling at the corners, and in the parlor, on the mantel above a soot-stained fireplace, was an old wind-up music box. Brass, delicate, with a small porcelain ballerina posed on top. I didn't recognize it, but it looked like it had been there for decades. The first night I noticed it, it wasn't playing. It was just sitting there, still, innocent. But the next night, after I'd shut off the lights and climbed into bed, I heard it. Soft music, tinny and uneven, coming from downstairs. It took a second to register, and another to gather the nerve to go look. I crept down the staircase, trying not to breathe. There it was, spinning, playing, all on its own. I stood in the doorway and watched it finish its song. When it stopped, the ballerina tilted forward slightly, and the lid clicked shut. I didn't touch it. I didn't sleep. The next morning I told myself it must have been wound up already. Maybe the change in temperature caused it to shift or trigger. Houses settle. Objects move. That's what I told myself. That night I made sure to check it before bed. I turned the key once to test it, just once, and it started to spin. The melody was delicate, a lullaby I couldn't name. I stopped it, closed the lid, and went upstairs. I woke up at 3:17 a.m. to the sound of it playing again. That same eerie little tune drifting through the vents. This time I didn't go downstairs. I lay in bed, heart pounding, blankets pulled tight. I told myself it would stop. I whispered it like a prayer. And eventually, it did. The next day I tried to throw it out, but I couldn't. Something about it felt wrong. Like touching it too long made my skin crawl. I placed it in the closet upstairs and shut the door, locked it even. That night, same time, 3:17 a.m., I woke up. But this time it wasn't the music that woke me. It was silence, a sudden absence of sound. I didn't hear the box. I heard footsteps. I lay there until sunrise, drenched in sweat, ears straining in the dark. When the light finally crept across the floorboards, I opened the door. The hallway was empty, no music box. But in the center of the rug, carefully placed, was the ballerina figurine. Alone, porcelain arms raised, spinning slowly in the dust. I didn't touch it. I packed a bag that morning and drove away. I haven't been back since. The house still sits there, I imagine. Empty but not abandoned. The music box, I don't know where it is. But sometimes, at night, when I wake without knowing why, I think I hear it playing. Softly, at 3:17 a.m. My name is Emily Ross, and I've never been afraid of old houses. In fact, I've always loved them, the way they creak and moan, the smell of old wood and chimney ash. So when I got offered a remote freelance project that required a few months of solitude, I jumped at the chance to rent a small, weathered cottage in the hills of Vermont. It was quiet, private, a little worn down, sure, but charming. Pine trees lined the property. There was no internet, barely a cell signal, just me, my work, and the wind through the trees. The house had 2 bedrooms, a small kitchen, and a living room with a fireplace and an old-fashioned rocking chair in the corner. High-backed carved wood, the kind of thing you'd find in an antique shop. I liked it. It made the place feel lived in. The first few nights were uneventful. I'd write during the day, read by the fire at night. But around the 5th night, something odd caught my eye. I'd gotten up to grab some tea before bed. On my way back, I noticed the rocking chair was turned. Not facing the fire like it always had, but facing the couch where I'd been sitting. Just slightly, barely noticeable. I assumed I must have bumped it earlier. The next night it was turned even more. This time, facing the hallway to my bedroom. Again, I told myself it was nothing. I even laughed about it. But the next morning, it was back in its original position, facing the fire. That's when I got suspicious. So I tested it. I turned the chair toward the far wall before I went to bed. Even took a picture on my phone to prove it. Next morning, chair was turned again, about 15 degrees to the right, like it had pivoted while I slept. I thought maybe it was warped wood or the floor was uneven, but it kept happening. Every night I turned it, every morning it shifted, always facing somewhere new. Until one night, it was facing my bedroom door. I didn't sleep much after that. The night after, I set up my phone to record, pointed it at the chair, hit record, left the lamp on low, slept with the door cracked open just a bit. When I reviewed the footage the next day, my stomach turned. For the first 2 hours, nothing happened. Then, around 2:40 a.m., the chair rocked forward. Once. Then it stopped. 30 seconds later, it rocked again. Then again. Steady. Smooth. Like someone had sat down in it. But no one was there. The room was empty, silent, still, until the lamp began to flicker. Then the chair turned, just slightly, toward the camera, and the video cut to black. I deleted the footage, not because I didn't believe it, but because I did. The next night, I moved the chair out to the porch, shut the door, bolted it. But around 3 a.m., I woke up to the unmistakable sound of creaking wood. I peeked out the window. The chair was rocking. Steady. Even. But it wasn't empty. There was a figure in it. Dark, motionless, barely visible in the moonlight, staring straight at the house. I stayed on the floor until dawn. When I looked again, the chair was empty. Still. I left that morning. Called the owner, told him I was leaving early. He didn't seem surprised. Said, "You made it longer than most." I asked him what that meant. He hung up. I don't know who or what was sitting in that chair, but I know it wasn't me, and I know I never want to see it again. My name is Rachel Monroe, and this story starts when I moved into a rental house just outside Spokane, Washington. It wasn't anything fancy. 3 rooms, creaky floors, a little backyard. But the rent was cheap, and the place was clean. After a messy breakup and a cross-country move, it felt like a fresh start. Quiet, private, just me and my thoughts. The first time I noticed it was my second night there. I was in the shower, steam rising around me, when I saw something through the frosted glass door. A shape, a silhouette. It looked like someone standing there, on the other side. My heart jumped into my throat. I yanked the door open. Nobody. The bathroom was empty. I told myself it was just shadows. The way the steam and the light from the hallway played tricks on your eyes. I laughed it off. But the next night, it happened again, and again the night after that. Always around the same time. Always the same shadowy figure, standing just outside the frosted glass. The shape never moved, never knocked, just stood there, still, watching. I tried to be rational. I checked all the locks, the windows. I even taped a line on the floor and measured the steam's shadow against the light. But the shadow didn't match. It was too tall, too straight, like it didn't belong to any object in the room. On the 4th night, I decided to get bold. I waited, let the water run, let the steam build. And when the silhouette appeared, I opened the door again as fast as I could. Empty. But this time, there was something else. A wet handprint. Not mine. Too large. Palmed high against the tile wall. 5 long fingers, still dripping. I didn't sleep that night. The next day I called the landlord, told him I thought someone might have broken in or maybe had a key. He sounded tired, quiet. Then he said, "Don't worry about the bathroom, just keep the lights on." That's all he said before hanging up. That night, I left the bathroom light on while I showered. No shadow, no handprint, no chill crawling down my spine. But just when I started to relax, I caught something in the mirror. The silhouette again. Only this time, it was behind me. I turned. Nothing. But the mirror still showed it. Faint, standing there like a smudge that wouldn't wipe clean. I didn't shower the next day, or the one after. But the glass door started fogging anyway, on its own. And once, just once, I heard breathing from inside the bathroom when I was still in bed. I moved out that weekend, didn't ask for my deposit back, didn't answer the landlord's follow-up calls. I just left. But sometimes, when I shower at night, I catch my reflection in the glass, and for a second, my shadow lingers longer than I do. You've just heard 5 chilling tales of isolation, suspense, and the unknown. Whether it's a knock at the door, a light that won't stay off, or a shadow behind the glass, these are the moments that remind us sometimes the scariest place is your own home. If you enjoyed tonight's stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Until next time, sleep well, if you can.